Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. But first, I want to invite you to like this video, share this video with someone who you think may enjoy it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help us out. And we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week is Doctor Strange, Fall Sunrise, issue number 1. Now this is written and illustrated by Tradd Moore. This is absolutely amazing. This was bonkers. It is dreamlike, it is psychedelic, it is weird, it is captivating, it is dynamic, it is exciting, it is engaging, it is immensely compelling, it's incredibly well crafted. Every bit of composition, panel design, layout choice, the ink line itself, this is so wildly awesome, is what this is. Not tied into any continuity, doesn't need to be. What it is Doctor Strange just wakes up in this mysterious magical land, some kind of mysterious plane of existence. He gets up, he starts walking, he encounters things, and things encounter him, and it is absolutely engaging. It is enthralling. It is masterful. It is so good. It's not going to be your typical, superhero story where everything's clear and cut and precise and well-defined or anything like this. This is meant to be a psychedelic, magical, dreamlike sequence of events, and I was enamored by it. This is the best Marvel comic of this year. 100%. Tradd Moore kills it. This book was awesome. A great, what do they call that? Wraparound cover. That's what we call that. Freaking fantastic. I'm blown away. I am blown away. I was excited for this book. Tradd Moore, I got to know on Strange Talent, Luther Strode, Silver Surfer Black. I love his work. Holy cow. That's masterful. That's a masterclass right there, y'all. Then we got Star Wars Yoda, issue number 1. It's alright. It's decent enough. If you like Star Wars books, I would encourage you to check this out. If you're a big Yoda fan, check it out, right? Picks up with Yoda on Dagobah. He's reflecting on a previous mission. Back in the days of the Republic, he goes to a planet to help defend it against some people trying to oppress some people, right? It's what Yoda does, right? It was nice. It was light. It was fun. It wasn't anything more than it needed to be, and it wasn't anything less than it needed to be. It was pretty decent. Then we got Amazing Spider-Man issue number 14 here. This is like a prelude to Dark Web. So if you haven't been aware that we've got this looming Dark Web event coming up in the Spider-Man comics, right? And basically it's Ben Reilly, who has now lost his memories. He's now called Chasm, and he's teamed up with the Goblin Queen because they're both clones with grudges. So I guess that makes sense. And they're going after Spider-Man and some of the X-Men, right? Okay, so what this does is, since Spider-Man's been going on, this recent relaunch for 13 issues, I guess we're supposing that there's... Anyway, what this does is it tells what's been going on with Ben and the Goblin Queen this whole time in between, right? Is it the Goblin Queen? Is that her name? Madeline Pryor, so you guys know who I'm talking about. That's the Goblin Queen, right? I'm getting confused, because isn't there a Queen Goblin? Anyway, so then... This is just kind of setup of what they've been doing, what they've been building towards, and it does introduce a new villain, if you will, right? And we already know about all that, so that's here. It's got an interesting structure. It's structured in 4 different segments based on the seasons of that year, spring, summer, winter, fall, and each season has a different artist. So you got Michael Dowling, Kyle Hotz, Terry Dodson, Ryan Stegman. So there's some decent artwork here, but overall it didn't really do that much for me. I don't like this journey of Ben Reilly into villainy. Like, they've tried that before. It just doesn't work for me. Ben Reilly's a hero. I get that he's lost his memories and this and that, but I don't know. I'm just not super excited for it. We'll see. Spider-Man's been a decent book. A bit inconsistent, bit up and down, but for the most part, mostly up for me lately. Then we got Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue number 2. Just like the first issue, I'm not really completely sold on the story. but the artwork in this book is amazing. Juan Ferreira's artwork, anything this dude does, I will definitely check it out. I love it. Some really cool, spooky effects, great layouts, all that kind of stuff. Basic premise is Spider-Man Peter is in LA or something working on something scientific, I guess. He finds this sacred rock or cursed rock or something, touches it, brings about this darkness. It's kind of convoluted. It's kind of wordy, but the artwork, oh my goodness, it's amazing. Then we got Daredevil, almost said Dark Devil. Dark Devil coming soon from PCP Comics. Anyway, Daredevil number 5 from Chip Zdarsky, and we don't have Marco Cicchetto here, but we do have Rafael de la Torre, and the artwork works. It is similar in approach and style to Marco Cicchetto's work, so it carries with it a consistency. It's awesome. It's Matt kind of reflecting on some of the decisions that he's made, going full board. Certain things are moving forward and progressing. Basically, Daredevil and Elektra are now running something called the Fist, which is going to go right up against the Hand, which is being dealt with in the Punisher book. So there's something that's being built to here. I'm down for it because I'm loving Daredevil and I'm loving Punisher. And also some major recent events to the relationship of Elektra and Daredevil, and it's a long time coming. Let's just say that. Genies, Vel, Captain Marvel, issue number 5. This is the final issue of this mini-series that kind of goes back to the late 90s, early 2000s, to the Peter David run on Captain Marvel, where this character was spotlighted. I had a lot of fun with that run. Back in the day, I was a fan. I've had a lot of fun with this, kind of going back to that, right? But it's still set in modern continuity, at least it seems, right? And it does reset the status quo of Genies Vel and Rick Jones, and it also does some interesting things with Marlowe and changes her importance to the Marvel Universe. And may or not be a first appearance of a new cosmic entity. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't read the most cosmic Marvel stuff, so y'all let me know, but that was pretty decent. Then we got Detective Comics. It's from DC. Detective Comics 1066. Ron V's been killing it on this book. I really like it. He's got a great sense of narrative flow and pace in this. It feels very operatic, right? And it's building in and on itself, right? And there's some deep psychological, like sinister things going on, but it's dealt with a subtlety that I find really refreshing for a Batman comic. The artwork in this one is by Ivan Reis, inked by Danny Mickey. It has the same kind of tone and mood provided, even though it's a different line style, a same kind of tone and mood that's been established with the Raphael Albuquerque artwork. And some really great stuff going on here with the character of Two-Face. Ron V is a hell of a writer, and he can write a hell of a Two-Face. I'll tell you that. Dark Crisis, The Dark Army is a one-shot comic book spinning out of the events of Dark Crisis. So in the last issue of Dark Crisis, the Dark Army's fighting, and it's all like, all balls to the wall. Every hero's out for them, out for themselves. They're all banded together trying to solve, it's just chaotic. It's chaotic, is what I'm trying to say. So this is about a little side mission that Damian has where he puts together a team. He's got Dr. Light, he's got Power Girl, and the new Red Canary. So this is the first real spotlight we get on her. But he takes them to go on a little side mission. And it doesn't really amount up to much of anything for me. The artwork, there's a few different artists here, and it's wildly inconsistent. On one page, Damian looks 14. On another page, he looks 28. And it's just kind of off-putting. Some of the characters are a little bit just too, I don't know, just a little too one-dimensional, not even two, right? So it just didn't really work for me. I do enjoy Dark Crisis, but so far the tie-ins haven't been the strongest, and that one didn't really wow me either. Then we've got Action Comics 1049. I really like what they're doing with Metallo here. Some really interesting things are being done aesthetically and with the character and motivations of Metallo setting some stuff up. I'm enjoying that. But we're still just dealing with the leftover effects of the Warworld saga. So I already thought the Warworld saga was a bit bloated already, and now it's spilling into this, which is also supposed to be I guess this is the bridge, right? We're about to have the dawn of DC or whatever, and Josh Williamson's coming on to do Superman. Philip Kennedy Johnson's continuing to do Action Comics. It's going to change formats, though. It's going to be a big anthology comic. So this is kind of like that bridge, I guess. There's certain things, though, I just don't really dig in here. In fact, like when the new gods show up, and if 3 new gods are showing up, Superman needs to break a sweat, is all I'm trying to say. And maybe there's a reason in the story as to why, but I didn't think it was solid, to be honest with you. And this run's kind of wearing thin on me. And Mike Perkins, who's an amazing artist, but Superman's not the book I would put him on. It just looks a bit, I don't know, and maybe the coloring's not help. It's way too orange. I don't know. Something like Swamp Thing is perfect for Mike Perkins, but I don't know about Superman. Then we got Punchline, the Gotham game, issue number 2. Didn't really like issue number 1. I haven't been wowed and won over by the character of Punchline. I don't think she's had a story to define herself as being worthy of her own book. Not saying that if you're a fan of Punchline, I think that you shouldn't have a Punchline book, more power to you. But for me, it took Harley Quinn a long time to really carve that out, right? And Punchline just kind of feels forced on the community right now. And I'm not saying there's not interesting things about the character, but she seems kind of bratty, doesn't seem compelling. I'm not really interested. I would have rather have had her just kind of be a villain for a while, with the Joker, maybe not with the Joker, for a few years, and then build that character up naturally into a demand for a Punchline book. So I don't know if there's a demand for this book, but if there is, it ain't coming from here. I'll tell you that. Then we got Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead, issue number 3. Bruce Campbell, Eduardo Risso, absolutely fantastic, and Christian Rossi is the colorist. The coloring in this book is absolutely amazing. Eduardo Rizzo is a fantastic artist. He was the artist on 100 Bullets. I love his noirish type approach. It really works for a war story. You don't think that it necessarily would, but it does, because this is a darker approach to a war story, because it's horrific and it's about Nazi zombies and Sergeant Rock fighting the Nazi zombies, and it's not striving to be anything more than that or anything less. It is exactly what it needs to be, and it excels at doing exactly what it's trying to achieve. And that's why I like that book. Then we've got The Human Target, book 9. So this is issue 9 of 12, running a little bit thin, just stretching it out just a little bit too much. Sometimes I think Tom King has an 8-issue story, and he structures it out to 12. Sometimes I feel like he's got a 5-issue story, and he structures it out to 8. Sometimes I think he has a 2-issue story, and he stretches it out to 6. That being said, I do love Greg Smallwood's artwork here. There are some things that get revealed in this book throughout the course of it, but for the most part, it's just kind of stalling out the story just long enough to pass the time on another day, because the whole point is Human Target's been poisoned in the first issue, and he's got 12 days to live. Each day is an issue. So each issue is a day, which means that, kind of like that show 24. I remember when 24 came out, each episode's an hour in real time. And watching that week to week, I was engaged. Me and Jelani, we watched that show. We loved it. When I got the DVD set and tried to rewatch it, I was like, they are wasting so much time on the most ridiculous things to fill out this hour. That's what seems to be happening at times with some of Tom King's work recently. So I just feel like he's stretching out, because he's got this idea of 12 days, but this whole, I don't know, not a lot of movement. Great artwork, though. Let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have 8 Billion Genies, issue number 6 of 8. This has been a very imaginative book. Imaginative with its story, and imaginative with the technical aspects of the structure of the story, right? So, 8 billion people on the earth. One day, everybody gets a genie. Everybody gets a wish. World goes into more than chaos. Like, wild, giant cheese men. Who wished for that? Who wished for the giant cheese man? You know what I'm saying? Like, probably a 12-year-old, man, to be honest with you. I mean, I wish I had a giant block of cheese. Not a man. A giant block of cheese that never ends and never spoils. For my luck, it'd be something like Swiss or something. Anyway, 8 billion genies. So the world goes into chaos. The first issue dealt with, like, what? It was like 8 minutes. Then it was like the first 8 hours. Then it was the first 8 days for the next issue. The first 8 months, weeks and months. Now we're in the 8-year territory. So now This story is expanding, and the world building that's done in this issue and in the previous issue is astounding. It's really well done. Charles Soule is doing a great job of taking a really cool concept that's charming and interesting and continuously building out from that. And I was really curious, like, how are we going to take this story with these core characters and stretch it out into these crazy time lapses and stuff? But it works. He goes through 8 years in a breeze here, and it works. It works so freaking well. And I love these societies that have popped up in this world, and now there's almost like a weaponization of the Genies. Really great imaginative stuff. Then we've got the Department of Truth here with issue number 22. This is a great issue. This was not necessarily just a whole issue of somebody explaining something to someone. There are elements of that, but for the most part, this story took a major leap forward into what could be an endgame, right? Now, it's going to go on hiatus for a while after this, but it does promise at the very end that Department of Truth will return. So it doesn't say when, but it will be back. So it's on a hiatus right now, but once again, amazing artwork from Martin Simmons, amazing lettering from Aditya Bidikar, artwork with grit, lettering with teeth enough to cut you when you flip through the pages of the book. And like I said, this really gets the story to a tipping point where it's really about to break loose. I love that book. I think it's amazing. Then we got Vanish, issue number 3 from Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. J.P. Mayer. It's all right. I'm enjoying it. It does have the feel and the vibe of like a 90s Image comic. And in this one, we got our main dude. It's mostly him in a fight. They're starting to lose me. I don't know if this is the intent from Cates and Stegman, but I am not really liking this main character. I like this world. I like the energy that Stegman's art brings to this. I like the energy that Donnie's telling the story with, right? But I'm not interested in almost any of the characters. And so it's almost like I'm not saying my interest is waning, but it's pretty close, maybe. But I do love the energy and the vibe of this book. I just wish I cared more about the characters. But Vanish, number 3. I think I said number 4, but this is number 3. Pretty decent. Then we got Creepshow, issue number 3. This has been rather a disappointment for me, this Creepshow book. I think it's had some cool stuff here and there, but for the most part, just nothing really good and punchy. And I get it. You got to do like a 10-page horror story. You got to do setup, mid, and the punch, right? You got to do the ending. I get it. That's not an easy task to do. But some of these are just so generic and obvious, like, I don't know. I mean, they're all right. First of all, you got Francisco Francavilla on the book. This was my favorite one in this issue, was the Francisco Francavilla bit, because I am a huge fan of his. So who can't show you that one? That's kind of spoilery. Actually, that story wasn't too bad. It made me want to read Pelts, or watch Pelts, the Dario Argento Master of Horror episode with Meatloaf. And then the Jorge Corona on the other one. It's about an influencer going to the sacred site, and she doesn't obey the rules. Shit happens. I mean, they're all right. It's all right. It's disposable. I was just hoping this wouldn't be as disposable because of the talent involved. But I don't know. Hitomi is here with issue number 2. It's about a woman who has found this samurai, and she wants to be trained by the samurai. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think the samurai is kind of an outcast, but I think he's responsible maybe for her father's death or something. I don't know. I'm struggling to remember the exact setup in the first one, but I did like this issue. I thought it was really cool. So she is trying to be trained by this dude. He doesn't want to train. We've seen this story tons of times. The reluctant mentor, the overeager student. We've seen this. We've seen it done plenty of times. But this is actually pretty solid. Really solid artwork, a great pace, a nice flow, and just really nice aura and vibe about this book. I really like it. And it's got this tone of melancholy that I think is rather appropriate. Then we got Scorched issue number 12, the Team Spawn book that nobody ever thought they wanted, but I'm glad it's here because I'm having so much fun. This is the finale of this arc. Each issue is kind of focused a little bit on an individual character, And I think that was brilliant by the creative team to do that, because after establishing the team with the first arc, now we get into the characters. However, it all is still an arc, and it all culminates very satisfyingly here in issue number 12. I'm having a lot of fun with Scorched. My only problem with this is none of these characters that are on this cover I picked up are in the issue. But that's okay, because the Spawn books are hitting a point right now where it's about to erupt again. Well, we're now here at the dawn of Frank Miller Presents. So Frank Miller, Dan DiDio, they got their own publishing company. Their first 2 books are out right now. Ancient Enemies, Ronin Book 2. They're both $7.99. $7.99. However, they are big. They are big. They are chunky. They have nice covers. They have really nice paper. Let's talk about it. So Ronin Book 2, a sequel, what, like almost 40 years in the making? If not that, man, we're getting old. Getting old. Anyway, I love Frank Miller's Ronin. I think it's one of the most elegant comics that he's done. I think it's amazing. I was excited for this book. It did not let me down at all. I had a lot of fun. So this is laid out and written by Frank Miller with artwork by Philip Tan on those layouts. The artwork, oh my goodness, it is beautiful. It is gorgeous. It is some of the best usage of black and white you're going to see in a comic book on the shelves right now. It is a sequel to Ronin. If you've never read Ronin, they kind of do this recap at the beginning, but Ronin's confusing enough just trying to read it for the first time on your own. It's a rather complex story and deals with a lot of cool, interesting themes. I highly encourage you to check out Ronin. You can get it in trade paperback from DC Comics. This book, I had a lot of fun with it. It didn't completely wow me with the story, but it delivered exactly what I was expecting. Big, bold, dynamic artwork. Everything is a double-page spread. Everything has a movement to it, an energy, a giantness to it. It feels epic. The writing is solid. If you are a big fan of Ronin, you're going to know exactly what's going on here. I love it. A little bit of a Lone Wolf and Cub vibe to it as well. And the ending was one of the most satisfying endings on a comic I've read in a while. I loved it, was not disappointed. Ancient Enemies, however, wasn't really digging on this one. So this one's written by Dan DiDio with artwork by Bayruth. So the art is by, let me find the credits. Once again, nice paper. It passes the sniff test, I'll tell you that. But the artwork in this one, it's all right, but it doesn't really do anything exciting. And when you put out something like this that's like damned exciting, and then this is just kind of like run-of-the-mill, typical type stuff. I don't know, it's about an Earth in the future. Aliens have landed here. We have superheroes, and there are these 2 warring alien races. And basically the whole setup of Ancient Enemies is this. They decide to send 1 warrior from each alien race to Earth, and Earth is the battlefield. Meanwhile, Earth's going through all this kind of social upheaval and things like that. It's all right. It wasn't necessarily boring, but it didn't really excite me or thrill me at any time through. And for a $7.99 book, even though it's chunky too, I can't recommend it. But I do recommend this one if you love comic book art, black and white stuff, manga influenced, inspired stuff. And if you haven't read Ronin, y'all, come on, what's wrong? Then we got from Boom Studios, we have Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 1. It's a new creator-owned book from Jason Aaron, Alexander Tkiftny, Lee Lowridge, and Nick Dragata's in there, and Rico Renzi as well. I really liked this book. It was really good. I haven't really been digging on a lot of Jason Aaron stuff lately, but it's mostly because I'm just not digging on Avengers stuff right now, and it's mostly what he's doing. I wish Southern Bastards would come back, right? That being said, this was really cool. So it's the end of the world. Like, the whole world's flooded and everything. And it's about this young woman. She's out there paddling away. She finds this young kid, this dude who's, like, trapped alone in this big tower or something. And he's got all these snack machines and everything. And it's really cool. It reads like a really good, like, kind of zombie apocalyptic fiction type thing. But it seems to be a setup of young love at the end of the world. And then at the very end, after it introduces the characters in a very well-structured first issue, it moves forward in time a little bit to show us how high the stakes are going to get in this series. And it goes from cute and charming and whimsical to, wow, I think this is going to get pretty dark. I really liked the book. I thought it was cool. And the artwork was super solid as well. Definitely want to show you some pages from that. But I really did like the artwork. I liked the vibe. Like I said, it had a lot of charm to it. And then an intensity towards the end. Dark Spaces Wildfire is here with issue number 5. This is the final issue of the Scott Snyder, Hayden Sherman series. Also got to talk about Rhonda Pattinson's coloring again. The coloring in this book is absolutely amazing. So this has been a story about these women prisoners who are on this program where they go and fight fires, wildfires, right? They get released, they go fight wildfires. It helps reduce some of their sentence or something like that. And they decide to pull off a heist on this house that's in the way of a wildfire, and things go way wrong. Artwork by Hayden Sherman is some of the best work I've seen from them. The coloring is amazing. I love these choices. I love the story. Scott Snyder did a great job of tying in like the life of a wildfire into the themes of this story and the structure of it. And I really thought this was incredibly satisfying. So Dark Spaces Wildfire, now that it's complete, check it out if you haven't already. Should be a trade coming soon if you missed out. Then we got Pink Lemonade, issue number 3. This is from Oni Press and Nick Cognetti. This book is awesome. This book is just awesome. I love it so much. This is a whimsical, charming book that is just filled with so much positivity and also a critical eye on culture and society. This reminds me, and I mean this as that I'm a huge Allred fan. This is one of the biggest compliments I can give about this book. This is the closest thing I've ever read to Madman. Not saying it's doing Madman, it's not trying to do anything, it's not ripping off Madman, it's got a different vibe, a different aesthetic, but there are similarities in the story, in the style, there's just similarities about it, but it's not a ripoff at all. It's its own thing. It's amazing. I got to give a big shout out to Nick Cognetti, by the way, because Diamond shorted us issue number 2 of Pink Lemonade last month, and we still haven't gotten them, so I didn't get to read it. And dude hooked me up with a copy so that I'd be ready for issue number 3. Now, if you're a fan of Pink Lemonade, 1 and 2 were reprints of released material already. This starts the new stuff. I love this book so much. A critical eye on culture, but doing something so bubbly, positively fun while doing that. This book's awesome. That book punches. I was trying to say something else. Mindset is here with issue number 5. I'm loving this book. It's kind of like a social networky type thing. Basically, this group of friends develop an app. The app is designed to free your mind from social media influence. Well, how do you sell a social media app that's to free you from your influence on social media? Well, let's just say they wind up stumbling into how to do mind control through an app, and it doesn't go well. And there's backstabbing, there's bite fighting. Bite fighting? What's a bite fight? Bite fights are some of the roughest fights you'll ever get in, trust me. Bite Fight, coming soon from PCP Comics. I liked this issue a lot. I love the artwork. I love the lettering. Hassan Otsman-El-Howe is doing some really interesting things with the lettering in here. It goes right along with the flow of that artwork, becomes a character in and of itself, and a big revelation at the end here that maybe you can see coming. And I did see it coming right as I was turning the page, but still had an impact. I really, really like that. Then we've got also, since that's written by Zach Kaplan, let's talk about Forever Forward, number 3 from Scout Comics. I like this book. I thought it was really solid. Basically, this dude's invented time travel, and some accidents happen, and him and some people, they get flung forward in time. And there are these clues left by him that the only way to go back in time is to go forward, because they don't know how to go back in time, so they just keep jumping forward in time until the puzzle is solved, I guess. That's what they're hoping. It's like literally a leap of faith, right? But society progresses and degresses in these kind of weird patterns, and they have to deal with that. Plus now, their impact being extrapolated out, causing like wars and things like really interesting stuff. Just going to say that. Really interesting stuff. I think Zach Kaplan's a Very solid sci-fi writer. Then we've got Bloodshot Unleashed, issue number 3 from Valiant Comics, written by Dennis Camp with artwork by John Davis Hunt, Jordi Belair, and Hassan Osman El Hal. This is a team-up between Bloodshot and Exo Manowar. They are in a small town where these, like, snake-worshipping churchgoers are there, but there's something very nefarious going on here, and it's giant, you know, monsters, genetically manipulated and engineered monsters. So Bloodshot and Exo Manowar have to go take care of business. And, you know, Dennis has already shared this page, this one page here. So I'm going to share it. This book gets pretty gory, gets pretty bloody, and I'm here for it. I love this book. I think it's really great. It's a nice, fun, easily accessible action comic that deals with high concept in science fiction and also just within its subtextual meaning and relevance, and amazing artwork, kinetic, well thought out, and each issue self-contained story. Even if you didn't read issue 1 or 2, you can just grab this and read it. You haven't missed a thing. And then finally, let's talk about Fear of a Red Planet from Aftershock Comics. Just wasn't really digging on this one. It was interesting enough. I guess that we try to colonize Mars. It doesn't go as planned. So now the people on Mars, they're like miners, and it's like this blue collar thing, and they're being like you know, effed over by the corporation. And so now, like, they're turning to crime, and it's dealing with that on Mars. And it's interesting enough, but the artwork just didn't really work for me. There were some interesting choices on colors, and I like the style, but for the most part, a lot of it just kind of blended together and didn't really work for me. Didn't pop for me, neither in the story, the characters, or the art. So it just wasn't quite for me. So that's what I read. So let's recap. Fear of a Red Planet, I wouldn't recommend it. Bloodshot Unleashed, I highly recommend it. Forever Forward is a really solid sci-fi time travel story. Mindset is awesome. I really love this book. Really innovative on all levels. Pink Lemonade is a charming, fantastically awesome book. That is so cool. Dark Space's Wildfire, very satisfying conclusion. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World is a great debut from Jason Aaron for a new concept. Frank Miller presents Ronin Book 2. Blah, that's what I want. And then Ancient Enemies, not so much. Scorched, number 12, really fun Team Spawn book. Then we got Hitomi, really great. Typical story we've seen before, but done in an excellent way. Creepshow, still good, but just a little bit disappointing. Wanted more. Vanish, it's alright. Then we got Department of Truth, really starting to move it along, getting set up for what seems to be a big finale. I don't know if it's ending soon, but it feels like we're heading there. 8 Billion Genies continues to amaze me with its structure, with its imagination, with its world building. Human Target, wasting a little bit of time there. Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead, exactly that, and it's exactly what it needs to be. Punchline, no thank you. Then we've got Action Comics wearing thin on me. The Dark Crisis, Dark Army, only if you're the biggest. Dark Crisis, got to have everything. Detective Comics, Ron B writing a mean-ass Two-Face. Then we got Genisville, Captain Marvel, nice throwback to the Peter David stuff. Daredevil, loving it, building up to something big. Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, great art, story not really super gripping to me. Amazing Spider-Man, I don't know if I'm supposed to be excited about Dark Web, but this didn't necessarily do it for me. Star Wars Yoda is decent, but the pick of the week and the best Marvel book I've read all year. The only one that comes close is like Hulk Grand Design number 1. Doctor Strange, Fall Sunrise by Tradd Moore. Written and illustrated by Tradd Moore. Beautiful, psychedelic, dreamlike. Oh, so freaking good. Marvel, I personally want more like that. That's just me. Anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. And also, if you want to check out Whatnot, I got a link in the description below where if you're signing up for the first time, we'll give you $15 in Whatnot credit. All from our friends at Whatnot. So thank you so much for that. Thanks for rocking with us. We are dipping out. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop, boom.